What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to be going over the top 5 XP methods in Red Dead Online at the moment. There's new content right around the corner. We don't know exactly what we're getting. Rockstar's told us a lot, but they said that there's even more that they haven't spoken about yet. We're going to learn that later this week. Regardless, on the 26th, you can expect some content and new items, and we may need to get a higher level in order to unlock those items. Unless you're already level 100 and you're a dedicated, overworked grinder, then you might need to gain a few more levels. So today we're gonna go over the top 5 methods. I'm Bandit Barney, bringing you everything you need to know about Red Dead 2 and Red Dead Online. Thank you for joining us today. The 5th best method, we're gonna break it down, going to 1 at the ultimate position, but to start off at number 5, we got the Blackwater Booth. Now, the nice thing about this booth is that it's the only method in our list that involves execution, so you can work on the execution award. Something you want to keep in mind is that during this entire time, when you're doing XP grinds, to reset your rewards, they're going to give you an extra 1,000 XP when you complete them each time. It's a big chunk, solid chunk, and you can get them really quickly actually, so make sure you reset your rewards. One of those is executions. So behind the Blackwater Booth, it's really simple to get to. Blackwater is one of the best areas for cops because they continually come. It's one of the highest population of policemen that'll come when you're wanted, and you can get those executions behind the Blackwater Booth. The downside to this booth is that after about 10 minutes, it actually starts to get kind of hard, because that's when the marshals show up, and the marshals have the shotguns. And when the shotguns start coming around the booth, if you get too many at the same time, they can shotgun you, and it's just basically a one-hit KO. So that's the downside to this. The upside obviously being the executions. With some practice, it gets better, but we have much better methods. The rest of them, though, however, don't involve getting the executions. And when Online first released, executions were like the way to go, but now they're not necessarily the way to go. Instead, you just want to get the influx of cops. So that's going to bring us to our number 4 method, which is the Saint Denis dock. Now, this isn't the under the dock glitch. This is above dock. There's one dock in Saint Denis that protrudes at a different angle than all the other docks. You want to go to this dock and then get up behind one of the houses, obviously after engaging with the police already, and then all the cops are going to funnel down this dock. The upside to this dock is that there's no direction that the cops will come from other than directly in front of you. They're only going to be coming from directly in front of you. The downside is that if you miss shots in this area, if you can't get those headshots right away, the guys can quickly overcome you. The upside being that there's so many of the cops that show up. Tons and tons of them, and for the most part, as long as you hit your shots, you don't have any problem. A technique that I like to use here is grab cover behind the building, right? And when the cops are farther away, if you tap left trigger, normally, so when we're shooting, we tap left trigger to cock and bolt our gun and then fire the shot, right? As well as re-aim down sights and regather your reticle to that small spot. If you do that quick enough, then you won't grab cover between times when you're cocking your rifle. So continue to do that quick enough, and then you can kill them at distance before they get close enough to put damage into you. This is really helpful. You just got to make sure you're being quick on that left trigger, and that's going to work out well for you. Now, something to note with all of these different spots is one thing you're going to want to have equipped is Stranger Medicine. This is basically when you shoot someone, you're going to gain health from that, as well as I like using the Deadeye perk where you gain Deadeye from shooting people. So you put on these 2 ability cards, and it's going to greatly help you, because one thing that happens when you use a high influx area like the Saint Denis dock is that you're going to take damage. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of how often you allow them to how often you get shot. So it's going to happen at times, and if you have to use a tonic or eat food in order to get your health back, that's time that you're not spent shooting, and you're gonna get overrun by the cops. That's why I like using the 2 perks to gain Deadeye and to gain health. I don't know why it took me a second to think of that. You use those 2 perks, and then what happens is that if you start getting overrun, you can use your Deadeye to help you out, but you don't end up needing to have to heal, because as long as you're doing it right, you can just get more shots to heal yourself back up when occasionally you do get hit. So get hit, just keep hitting those headshots, heal back up. This is going to allow you to stay in these high influx spots for a lot longer. The other high influx spot that we have here is the Blackwater Dock. This is super simple spot to get to. All you have to do is go out on the pier in Blackwater and crouch on the stairs towards the end of the dock, and then look back down the dock and shoot the cops as they come. Now this spot works really well 10 minutes after. The first 10 minutes you have to kind of build it up, but after that it works really well. Position yourself in the middle of the dock to get most cops coming towards you, and when you do this, the cops for some reason struggle really hard to get headshots on you. Now I'll warn you that this is a little bit safer than the Saint Denis dock, but this one is also still dangerous if you're missing your shots. It's really important to hit your shots. So on top of the gaining health and Deadeye when you deal damage, I also recommend getting the ability card that's going to make you stronger while using Deadeye. That way when things start to get overrun, you can use that perk, go into Deadeye, and just dish out a ton of damage, clear the area. This is how I kind of deal with when things get a little too messy for me. I like to use that perk and then just start gunning things down and kind of reset. Then I gain Deadeye back when I'm not using it and I'm getting headshots again. So this is a really good spot. Couple things that happen here that make this spot a little bit harder. Occasionally, because the influx of cops here is so heavy, occasionally you'll get a cop that glitches out and you can't kill. You'll shoot their head off, they have no head, but they still attack you. This makes it really hard, and this will happen maybe once every 30 minutes at this spot. Really, the best way to deal with this is, if you can, keep shooting them in order to kill them. Eventually they'll die. Luckily enough, when this happens, generally it's not a cop that is gonna charge you. Most of the time it's a guy who's kind of glitched out towards the start of the dock, or he'll run around into the water or something like this. So luckily enough, they don't run at you, but this does happen occasionally when you use this spot. And on top of that, another thing that will happen is when you kill the horse, the marshals that ride in on the horses, right? If you don't kill them fast enough, make sure you're prioritizing them, because if you don't kill them fast enough, when the horse gets to like halfway down the dock, when it gets closer to you and you kill the guy off the horse will then run towards you and past you. And this would be fine if they stayed behind you. But what happens is that they start to run kind of around in circles because they're hearing gunshots, and gunshots scare horses, and they're running around in circles around you, and sometimes they'll get in front of you and you can't shoot the cops. So it's not the brightest part about this spot, but when the horse gets far down the dock and then you kill the marshal on top, if the horse doesn't run back off the dock, then you got to put the f***er down, because otherwise they're going to be messing up your shots and you're not going to be able to take care of the cops, and they're going to overpile on you. Other than those two things though, this spot works really well. The Saint Denis and Blackwater spot, it takes a little bit of practice because you got to hit your shots, but both of them have protection from cover. The Blackwater one has better protection, so it's a little bit easier. The shots though aren't as clear in the Blackwater one. Once you get the hang of it, you'll really run through on that. Then to our second one, and I don't know if this is going to earn you more XP than the Blackwater Dock, because that dock works really well, but you're not going to struggle at all on the spot because it's a god mode spot, and it's a house in Valentine. You just go to this house, obviously get the law on you, go to the house, and then glitch through the front door. Once you're glitched inside there, this is one of the few areas in the game that actually your target locking system still works in, so you don't have to free aim and you can target lock on the cops. A couple things to note is when you're in this spot, you have areas where the map won't render on the outside. So there's areas where you can walk in the spot where you won't be able to see the enemy and the map will look different. There's also areas where everything kind of renders in and you're fine. So work around that and go to the areas where everything works fine. What I like to do here is look out of the east side of the house, and then you have all the marshals will ride in over that east hill, as well as come up from kind of the southeast side from Valentine. You can get a lot of good hits here. You're not going to take any damage. The one trade-off you get here is, when I was recording this video, I had it work abnormally well. There were so many cops that came in, and this can work for you. You can replicate the same thing. I'd say most of the time the cops come at a little bit slower rate than the Blackwater spot, but you don't end up you will never take damage here, which makes this really useful and helpful. If the cops get too close to the house on this spot, what you want to do is just stay on that east side wall, because otherwise if you're walking around trying to follow the cops around, sometimes they'll go to the west side, and there's a few spots where you can't shoot through the wall on the west side of this house. You want to make sure to avoid those. Just stay on the east side. If a couple cops go to the west side of the front door, just let them, they'll work around, and if they don't, just occasionally between waves of marshals go over and try and take care of them. This spot works really well. You're not going to take any damage. You can do it for a long time. This spot works especially well for the award 120 minutes of wanted level. As soon as you're done with this spot, you can just walk out the door or the wall. You can't walk out the door, you have to walk out the wall, and you can generally walk out of the wall of any of these wall breach spots that works with target system still enabled. So any wall breach that you can go inside and still use your target locking system, generally you can just walk outside of the wall. One thing to note, the best way to get into this place is with the lantern glitch. If that's not self-explanatory, just to note, just pull out your lantern, pull out your pistol, look at the floor in third person, and then once your lantern glitches through the wall, switch to first person and just run and wiggle, and then if you need to, dive, and you'll get through there. That brings us to our best XP method in Red Dead Online to date, and unfortunately, this is one that you cannot do alone. You need to make this work most effectively. You need 3 other members with you. Now, you don't want to be in a posse, but you go to an island that I think Jay Stone coined it, XP Island. This is just the southernmost island that's west of Braithwaite Manor, and you go to this island and you go to the far side of it, and while you're there, as long as you have friends that you aren't posseed up with, when you kill them on this island, they will respawn in the exact same spot. Downside, obviously, to this is that you need friends to work it with. You need people to do it with. Upside to this, though, is that they will spawn in the same exact spot, and you can do everything possible to increase your XP. So special ammo, using Deadeye, firing from the hip, hitting those headshots. You can do executions too, so while being on your horse. I think the best way to use this method is to the most XP you can get is be on your horse, have special ammo, hip fire, wall, and Deadeye. And in order to do this, all you got to do is aim down sight, go into Deadeye, aim over the head, let go of left trigger, and then fire your gun while on your horse. This is going to give you maximum XP. I think it's 55 XP per kill. And if you have 3 people with you, there is a little bit of time where when someone spawns in, you can't shoot them. This time is increased if that person is farther away from the server that you're connected to. So let's say your friends live, let's say you're in Washington and you have friends in Washington you're playing with, you're going to be most effective with those friends. Whereas if you're in Washington and one of your friends is on the East Coast, it will be a little bit less effective. When I tested this for myself, I had a couple people with me that were in the UK, and I was able to kill the person that was in the States twice before I could kill the person in the UK twice. So it just a little side note there, but it works very well. I have had one issue with this spot where after I've done this glitch and then we kind of just started messing around and hitting each other, I then became unable to shoot the players, my friends. So if this happens, the one thing you can do if you want to completely reset, load a new lobby, that will fix it. Otherwise, you can always keep doing the execution style. So you can always pull out your knife and just keep stabbing them in the back. This will always work. That won't become something that is invulnerable. What happens with the gun sometimes is you just won't get a target reticle over them. Your target will be like that pale white kind of see-through when it's like someone's in the store and you can't shoot their horse or shoot them. You'll get that kind of target reticle. So if that happens, refer to the executions. If not, when I was doing this with my friends, I was the only one that had this problem. They didn't have the problem at all. But if it happens to you, go to executions or reset your lobby. That's going to do it for our top 5 XP methods. Get out there and grind before the update hits. Later this week, we're going to have news on what that update exactly is going to be. If you want to be updated Words are escaping my mouth. If you want to be updated when that update drops, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for stopping by, and until the next time, we'll catch you later.